Well, guys are at it again. The anti-gunners, led by Biden and Newsom, are quick to exploit Sacramento. Well, I'm here to quickly exploit their ignorance of the Constitution. That's what I do best. Better understand something. The Second Amendment to the United States Constitution ratifies and preserves for every citizen the right to keep and bear arms, and, moreover, that Congress or any other instrument of the federal government is constitutionally barred from infringing upon that right. You know, it was Sir Walter Raleigh. He said, "It's a basic principle of a tyrant to unarm his people of weapons, money, and all means whereby to resist his power." Sir Walter Raleigh said that. On every question of construction of the Constitution, carry yourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted and recollect the spirit manifested in the debates. Instead of trying what meaning can be squeezed out of the text or even invented against it, conform to the probable one when it was passed. Language of the Constitution cannot be interpreted safely except by reference to the common law and the British institutions of the time when the instrument was adopted. The Constitution is a charter of basic human rights, and that the federal government could not infringe under them under any circumstance. Even Blackstone said, he described the right to keep and bear arms for being for self-preservation and defiance, and self-defense being the primary law of nature, which cannot be taken away by law of society. It's a natural right of resistance and self-preservation when the sanctions of society and laws are found insufficient to restrain the violence of oppression. When that happens, when they take away the guns, then the weak will become prey for the strong. Hang in there, people. I've got a few things to say. The purpose of every line of the Bill of Rights was to protect people from the state. Our founders refused to ratify a constitution that didn't protect individual liberties. They weren't just a bunch of dead old white guys that invented this country. They meant what they said about the Second Amendment. And it's not about the National Guard or the police or any other government entity. It's about law-abiding private U.S. citizens, period. The Bill of Rights was designed to prevent Congress from preempting state powers. The first instance enacted was part of the original Bill of Rights in 1791, the Second Amendment. It was merely addressed to Congress and not to other states. The mistrust and uncertainty of how Congress might presume to construe its new powers that were just newly enumerated in Article 1 of the Constitution, resulted in the Bill of Rights, inclusive in the Second Amendment, proposed in the first session of the new Congress in 1789. As it was apprehended that although Congress was never given any power to preempt state constitutional provisions respecting freedom of speech or the press, Congress might nevertheless presume to regulate those subjects to their own liking under the pretext of some other authority, if not barred from doing so by the amendment. The Second Amendment and other amendments composing the original Bill of Rights reflect the same mistrust and were adopted for the same reason as well. But be sure, neither the First nor the Second Amendment nor any other amendment in this Bill of Rights was addressed to limits on the states. You got to stay awake on these things, people. You cannot let these people get away. Like I said before, there's no place in the Constitution anywhere. There's nothing anywhere in the Constitution that gives Congress the authority to pass any firearm laws. We'll go through this one more time. Accordingly, the federal government is nowhere in the Constitution, nowhere, people, granted the authority to abridge, restrict, or infringe in any fashion whatsoever guns or ammunition. Thus, all restrictive laws made by Congress, all regulations made by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are unconstitutional, is outside the scope of powers granted to Congress and to the executive branch by our Constitution. Restriction of arms and ammunition is not one of the enumerated powers delegated to Congress or to the executive branch. Said before, you look at your Bill of Rights, and you got the Second Amendment there. After the word infringe, which is the last word, there's no subparagraphs A, B, C, or D, which would stipulate what an acceptable infringement would be. Therefore, there are none. They are constitutionally barred from infringing upon your rights. They can't pass firearm laws. It's against the Constitution. If it's against the Constitution, it's null and void. All those firearm laws they passed from 1934 on they're not legit. They're junk. It's like getting junk mail. It's no good. You throw it away. Get rid of it. That's the way it works, people. It can't work any other way. Like I said, the Second Amendment to the Constitution ratifies and preserves for every citizen the right to keep and bear arms, and moreover that neither Congress or any other instrument of the federal government can interfere with that whatsoever. They are constitutionally barred from infringing upon that right. That's a contract we have with the government. That's what you call your Constitution. They want to get rid of that. Why? They want more power. Remember this. Anything mandatory is the opposite of liberty. For God's sakes, people, if you don't have a Constitution, a pocket Constitution, it's online. You can look this stuff up. Read it. Now you might have to read it a couple different times to understand exactly what it says. Another thing to look up, give me a second here. I hear the kittens. There's something too, and it's online, people. I mean, I've got the copies, but start looking up the Federalist Papers. They're right there. Right there, people. Right in front of you. Okay, that's all I got to say, but I just wanted to point out that Mr. Biden And these other gun-grabbing son of a bitches are way out of their league. They're bypassing the Constitution and they're doing what the hell they want. They want to put that black lady in there for Supreme Court Justice, and she's the same damn way. You can't have some kind of people in power. You've got to delete them. They must not be in a seat of power. Period. All right, that pretty much sums it up, people. You're on your own. Do your homework.